And away we go. It's just me at the moment. I'm not sure if Eric or Risk are wanting to join, or if they have the time to join. Nonetheless, I'm just gonna get on with it because something has to be done, something has to be covered. As much as I don't want to hear about it, I'm still gonna get dragged into it anyway. So that's something. What do we start with this evening? Or something. Hundreds of jobs at risk as River Island takes its axe to store base. River Island plans to close 33 of its 230 stores as part of a major restructuring plan. The store closures are due to declining high street sales and higher costs, leading to a £33.2 million loss in 2023. The restructuring involves a vote by creditors in August for fresh funding to aid the retailer's turnaround. And I wonder why that could be the case. It does not matter how much money a company has if you don't spend it wisely and you don't prepare yourself for whatever outcomes will negatively affect said business, they will definitely lose out in the end. No amount of government funding or tax breaks are going to save it. And even if they do try their best to be smart with the money, and hello, Eric,
Hey, what's up? I don't know
not
why that
much.
I don't know why that camera keeps popping on. I turned it off. But what are you talking about?
River Island axing a couple of jobs because they have a decline of high street sales, and of course there are higher costs to get goods, services, and other expenses.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Hundreds of jobs at risk, high costs, and certainly declining of sales for River Island are the main reasons.
Oh wow, that's not good. A lot of jobs are at stake there.
It's really bad.
Yeah, but yeah, like you can continue like saying what you were saying.
Well, that's just it. That's all I have to say. The thing is, look, honestly, most companies are screwed. There'll be a handful. There's a handful that will stay relevant for the next few years. If they don't get their act together, they don't get smart with how they're spending the money. Well, they can go down the same route as Toys R Us or J.C. Penney's or whatever business is no longer around anymore. Or even Blockbuster, even.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, yeah, that's true. They could like suffer the same fate as those companies, and it's very unfortunate. But yeah, you gotta get your acts right. You also gotta get with the. You also gotta get with the times to a degree if you're gonna like be a company and survive. Yeah, like yeah, like yeah. I'm not saying like kill everything that made you you, but you gotta modernize it as a company. You have to appeal to a specific demographic of like a new generation of people. Because whatever used to work back in the day doesn't work now. Like yeah, it's like pretty much. They used to rent out movies, but like when streaming came along, Buster didn't get with the times, and they got out of business. I heard I heard that they were like pretty much too stubborn to like kind of uh kind of like go like on the streaming route, so that's why they kind of they went out of business. But that's neither here or there. The point being is like they never got with the times, so that's why they went out of business. Toys R Us, I actually don't know why they went out of business, but I probably think of a good reason why they did. Well, for one, I'm pretty sure a factor of that was the fact that there are kids in this day and age who aren't really playing with toys like that, but instead are just like playing with like tablets and video games and whatnot. I'm pretty sure that's a factor, but I don't even know completely know why Toys R Us went out of business. Yeah, and other places went out of business because do kind of the same thing. They just never modernized. But yeah, companies have to get their act together. Some will survive for the long run, or at least for the next couple of years, and some will just completely go out of business. But that's just the thing with being a company, with being a business. You have to compromise to
It's
a degree.
reality.
Yeah, you have to compromise to a degree and get with the times, and just yeah, you got to just get with the times because the times aren't going to stay the same. It's not Everything is not going to stay the same. as much as I would wish that some things would remain the same, obviously I would want society to prosper. But like, yeah, it's just a fact of life. Things aren't going to remain the same. Like just get with the times, otherwise you're going to be left behind.
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Pope Leo XIV urges ethical AI safeguards to protect human dignity.
Huh, interesting. Like didn't expect the Pope to be on the whole AI train, but let's see what he has to say. Or what? Yeah, pretty much.
Pope Leo XIV addressed cardinals in Rome 2 days after his election, declaring artificial intelligence central to his papacy and highlighting a new industrial revolution. This focus stems from concerns about AI's challenges to human dignity, labor, justice, and the risk of unchecked technological progress harming workers and society. The Vatican is hosting a 2 day conference in Rome with tech executives to discuss AI ethics, corporate governance, and the need for regulatory authority. Leo XIV highlighted that AI lacks self-awareness, conscience, and the capacity for moral responsibility. He stressed that while AI should not be unjustly vilified, appropriate oversight is necessary, raising the concern of who should be responsible for its regulation. The event signals the Church's intent to use its social teaching to shape AI's ethical development, aiming to protect human dignity and advocate for inclusive, just work amid rapid technological change.
I'm not Catholic, but I have been agreeing with some of what Pope Leo has been saying. Like he's absolutely right on this whole issue. You shouldn't vilify AI as a whole, just regular human decency. And yeah, it's just AI is going to continue to get better and better. Um, and we might continue to deteriorate slower and slower. But ultimately speaking, it really does depend on who is controlling AI and who is ultimately, you know, just making sure that our like just basic human rights are like just not violated by AI. Because ultimately speaking, AI has the potential to prosper us or hurt us. So it's very important that you just keep an eye on that, or keep an eye on who is actually operating that type of stuff. Otherwise we're all gonna potentially die just from it alone.
Yeah,
So yeah, do you have any thoughts?
nothing else to add other than the fact that we have to be cautious. We have to do whatever we can to ensure that the humans that are on this planet right now, they continue to do their work despite progress with AI and other automated entities.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that. You just have to make sure that any human now and any human in the future, um, are just just protected. And you should always remain cautious all the time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
The US plans to open a fly factory in Texas as part of its fight against a flesh-eating parasite.
Hey, flesh-eating parasite.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, let's hear more about that.
The United States government plans to open a fly factory in Texas by the end of the year to breed sterile New World screwworm flies to protect cattle from the flesh-eating parasite. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins stated that these flies will mate with females to prevent them from laying eggs in cattle wounds. Texas officials expressed gratitude for the United States' plans to combat the screwworm threat, which has led to live cattle imports from Mexico being suspended. Mexican Agriculture Secretary Julio Bedíez called Rowland's plan a positive step for US-Mexico cooperation against the threat.
I'll say this, we definitely don't want any flesh eating parasites to continue on, reproducing, because that'll just be dangerous for not only us, for literally anything that has flesh on it, including animals. So, yeah, I would say we gotta prevent that at any means necessary, because yeah, that could be a pickle. That definitely could be a huge predicament if it's not dealt with. And since we know about it, we're dealing with it right now. No doubt. Something will get done and something will be done. So all we can do is just wait and let the professionals do their job. Hopefully it does not get out of control.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything else in the news?
What to know about the COVID variant that may cause razor blade sore throat?
All right, let's hear it.
A new COVID variant has been detected in the UK and is spreading globally, having first been identified in January. Patients report a razor blade throat symptom, which caused an extremely sore throat, along with fatigue, cough, and fever. Dr. Mohammed Imran Laki noted severe sore throat, fatigue, cough, and fever as common symptoms. The UKHSA advises avoiding close contact with vulnerable individuals if experiencing respiratory symptoms.
That does sound like something serious. What are your thoughts on it initially?
I have a lot to say about that.
Well, let's start from square one.
Yes, square one. Here's the deal. We've been there before, roughly 5 years ago. And until all of the countries around the world have got COVID under control, and over the years since then, we've seen so much around COVID. Now, of course, there have been people who've lost their lives because of COVID. Mostly people who were at an age that, not to say I want to, but I feel like there have been much older people who are more likely to have lost their lives because of COVID. But other than the lives that were lost because of COVID, something that has to be pointed out is how everyone else dealt with COVID at the time. Now, of course, people say this was airborne, so meaning as a simple cough or sneeze floating about in the air could enter people's breathing systems, like through the nose, through their mouth, and boom, you are infected with COVID. Now, to have social distancing measures in place, that was not enough. They think it was enough, but no. That in my opinion, that's the bare minimum. If COVID, like a lot of people said, it was an airborne disease or virus, there should be a much wider social distancing gap. 2 meters was not enough. And even if you do have social distancing in place, there are people that don't wash their hands. And whatever germs on people's hands most of the time, especially when coughing, that can have contact on other objects, and other close contact close to your respiratory systems makes people more prone to catch COVID. The point I'm making is, although COVID was a major event in our lives, I don't think what was in place at the time was enough to stop the spread. Now, some countries have got it down perfectly, but that's only because that even with the measures to the best of their ability, what not many nations have thought about is the process post lockdown, like slowly returning back to normal. In the UK, around summertime of 2020, Boris Johnson, good old Bojo, he's like, we could all continue with our lives as usual. Only to realize COVID went back up again later in the autumn, and everyone knows that colder temperatures is where viruses and diseases most thrive. So you could do the best, governments could do the best to prevent the spreading of viruses and diseases, but what's just as important is the aftermath, slowly returning back to normal. And of course, and this is a big one, and I know not a lot of people are going to agree with this, dare I say, the antidote. I'm going to call it an antidote, because I'm not going to call it something else in case you know who tries to. Anyway, the point I'm making, what I was going to say is, when around the height of COVID, there were news outlets, there was news reports talking about some kind of antidote or some kind of, at least something that's injected into your body to reduce both the risk of catching COVID as well as building an immunity to it. Whilst at the time, people were thrilled that it took them so little months to have it done, whilst it took many years to find some kind of cure for other viruses and diseases. I would question, how is it it took a couple months in a year to find a cure for a disease, whilst it took years, maybe even a decade, or maybe a decade or two, to find cures for others? I'm just saying, I'm not discouraging any advice medically. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm just questioning how certain time frames to find a cure for something took so little time, but everything else took much longer than usual. And from what I've heard, there have been other news reports many years after the COVID lockdown that, as it turns out, the antidote in question doesn't seem to. I'm not going to say it doesn't seem to be as effective, but there were elements in the antidote that might have caused more harm than the good that they said it would do to them. So now, I'm not. I try to listen to health and medical advice to the best of my ability, but given how urgent and how important it is to follow medical and healthcare advice, it's just, you can't just take everyone's word for granted, especially if you take an advice from someone who doesn't have much knowledge or experience in the sector to begin with. So generally, it's just a case of questioning how things took so little time to get done and the legitimacy of advice given, mainly from those who may not have much experience or knowledge in specific sectors.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Uh, there's not really much for me to say. I mean, like I'm pretty, you pretty much like said it all. But yeah, uh, yeah, that's yeah. There's not really much else to say. And you're absolutely right about
And
what that you
yeah,
said. Oh, what were you
and
gonna say?
although I was going to say that whilst we have learned so much from the lockdown from COVID, we have mentioned this before that there have been some people on top saying that something else big is going to happen in 2025. They didn't say specifically, but they did give a year, and it's this year as of this recording. And the question
Said
is,
something.
how grand and what's the scale going to be this time round? Is it going to be like in 2020, or is it going to be on a much smaller scale? Because, of course, learning what we've got from 2020, I think people are going to have more knowledge and have a better experience with dealing what is yet to come, and maybe there's going to be a few they will stand their ground and not follow particular advice, no matter what people are saying. At least people who who are of a higher authority. So there there could be some outrage in some moment in time. Not sure when, but when the time comes, we're going to see lots of people crashing out. There are going to be arguments, and certainly there's going to be some way that people on top, they'll do what they can to ensure that everyone is following whatever guidelines are in place. But there are people who have listened to reports about what happened the last time we went through something like in 2020 and thinking to themselves, can we trust these people? Can we be sure that this is going to work much better than what happened last time?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the real question that should be asked. Is this going to work? Like it worked last time? Hey, you said earlier that something big was going to happen in 2025, you said? That they said?
Yes,
Well, we're halfway out of the year, so it better have, it has to happen either between now and December.
it's most likely going to happen in the much colder months, because, again, colder months are the kind of conditions where diseases and viruses get.
Yeah, and it would not make sense for it to happen in the warmer months. So I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
And yeah, they're being very strategic about it.
I will give them credit for that. Not to say I'd encourage it, but at least they're smart with how they're going ahead with the execution.
Sure, of course, you have to be smart if you want to pull off something like that.
Oh yes, especially what happened last time.
Yeah, if you're gonna try to deceive the whole world, at least be smart. At least do it smartly. At least think of a masterful plan. If you're gonna deceive a whole country and the world and the whole world, so yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens between fall and when it gets colder.
Yes, much colder.
Yeah, something is gonna happen, most likely. Shoot, they probably could have did it in the beginning of 2025. It was still cold, but probably wasn't in the plan. Yeah, unfortunately. But we're gonna sit and wait and see what happens, and whatever happens, we won't be surprised because we would have been expecting it anyways. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Climate activist throws paint on Picasso painting at Montreal Museum.
Let's hear it.
Okay. On Thursday morning, a climate activist from Last Generation Canada threw washable pink paint on Picasso's 1901 artwork L'Être, which was displayed behind glass at the Montreal Art Museum. Last Generation Canada claimed responsibility for the act, which is part of ongoing environmental protests, including recent pink paint attacks on the Montreal Casino and BMO's museum. The
Okay.
painting was protected under glass, showed no immediate damage, and the exhibition temporarily closed before reopening at 11:30 a.m. Montreal police arrested a 21-year-old man on site for mischief under $5,000 and released him with a promise to appear in court later, while the museum expressed deep dismay.
I will say this. First off, what were they mad at the painting for? Why? Second off, the fact that you used washable paint is even worse. Like if you're gonna throw something messy on there, at least have it be non-washable. Third, what were they even protesting and being an activist about? What were they an activist for? What was their cause?
Oh,
What
that's
reason were they at the museum?
who knows.
Were they mad at the patriarchy? The patriarchy demands?
I mean, that wouldn't be too far off.
Like boo hoo. I mean, they did end up getting released anyway. So it is what it is. I thought this is a guy too, right?
Actually, they didn't say what. They only got the age, and that's it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, either way, stupid thing to do. And on top of that, if you're gonna do something like that, the least you can do is use non-washable paint to like make their job. So like if you really want to stick it to the man, make their job a little bit harder than it has. Second off, why paint? Third off, what did that painting do to you? Or who do you hate specifically that's in that?
Still,
Where do you
so many questions that needs to be answered.
exactly? So many questions that won't be answered. But it is what it is.
And it was what it was. Chris Brown pleads not guilty in London assault.
Huh. Interesting. Let's hear that.
Chris Brown, the 36-year-old Grammy-winning American artist, denied charges related to an alleged bottle attack causing serious injury during a court appearance in London on June 20th, 2025. The charge arises from an alleged attack on producer Abraham Diwa at London's Tape nightclub in Mayfair on February 19th, 2023, involving Chris Brown and fellow musician Omololu Akinlolu, both of them whom have denied the accusations. Brown was taken into custody in Manchester in May and held for nearly a week before being released on £5 million bail. He was permitted to proceed with his world tour, which kicked off on June 8th, with a performance in Amsterdam and includes stops throughout Europe and North America. Prosecutors say surveillance footage captured Brown striking Diwa several times with a bottle, followed by punching and kicking. While Brown confirmed his plea with "not guilty, ma'am" in court. Brown will return to court on July 11th for additional pleas, with trial set to begin October 26, 2026, while bail conditions require his compliance or 42 of the £5 million guarantee.
I will say this in terms of Chris Brown. For one, I'm surprised that Chris Brown is still in his 30s. To be honest, I would have thought he was at least somewhere in his 40s by now. He looks older than what he is. And how he looks
Yeah,
older than what he actually is supposed to be. But I'm pretty sure that was partially due to the amount of drugs he was taking, and also it's kind of the tattoos. He has too many tattoos now. I mean, yeah, he has too many unnecessary tattoos. I'll be honest, do people just get random tattoos for like just because they want their body to be covered? Or I know that with some people the tattoos have meaning to them, but when it comes to the regular person,
I think when people get tattoos, I think it's just for appearance mostly. Other than what you already said, like if there's a meaning to them, or maybe possibly there was some tattoos that were put in there as some kind of dare. But those are very few. Those are.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But as for Chris Brown, man, it's like I'm not really necessarily surprised that he's in this situation. I didn't even know he was still doing stuff like that to begin with. 'Cause I don't really. But it's not like it's gonna hurt his pockets or hurt his what how women perceive him. I mean, maybe in the early 2000s the dude was a pretty boy, but it's like I don't know, bro. He's just declined so much in looks. I really don't know how some girls think that he's attractive. Yeah, but ultimately speaking, you know, it is what it is.
It was what it was. Music streaming service Deezer adds AI song tags in fight against fraud.
Interesting. All right, let's hear more about that.
In 2024, Deezer announced it will label albums containing AI-generated tracks to combat fraudulent streaming on its platform. This action follows a rise in AI-generated uploads, with 18% of daily uploads, around 20,000 tracks, on Deezer being AI created. Deezer reports nearly 70% of streams of AI-generated music are fraudulent, conducted by unknown organized entities seeking royalty profits. Sepol Roku, Deezer's director of royalties, indicated to The Guardian that fraudulent streaming will continue as long as it remains financially rewarding. Deezer's labeling, filtering of fake streams, and AI detection patterns aims to protect artists' rights amid growing AI misuse in the $20.4 billion global streaming market.
What are your initial thoughts on that?
Well, good on you, Deezer. They are at least there is a music streaming platform that is tackling against anything AI generated or any other fraudulent acts that goes against the promotion of music artists, royalties, and recognition.
Yeah. So, as I was saying, like pretty much, yeah, I don't really have that strong of an opinion about it. And yeah, like you pretty much said the majority of it.
Heavy rain, flooding, and rock slides have closed a section of Interstate 40 in the Great Smoky Mountains. Traffic on I-40 East must exit at Hartford Road due to the closure. Crews continue to remove water and rock from the highway as officials assess stability. The Tennessee Department of Transportation stated that the I-40 section may remain closed for up to 2 weeks.
2 weeks, huh? 2 weeks,
Yeah,
2 weeks, huh? Very, very interesting. I guess we'll have to see I guess, like, the only thing I can say is, like, we'll have to see where this all goes from here. And see if it either turns out good or it turns out bad. But regardless, we're gonna definitely see the results come and go, whether they're good results or whether they're bad results. So, I guess we can just wait and watch. Do you have anything?
I don't have much else to add other than hopefully everything is resolved and people driving on Interstate 40 can continue, well, with their usual commutes, if they have any, over there.
That's true. That's true. I just hope that things continue to remain the same, and then, like, most people won't have trouble, you know, going from place to place. But yeah, what else is in the news?
Australian trial says tech for social media teen ban can work.
Teen ban.
Yes,
Okay. Well, let's hear more about this teen.
the Australian government released preliminary findings on June 20th from an independent trial testing technologies for enforcing the under 16 social media ban starting December 2024. The ban was legislated due to concerns over children's online safety, requiring platforms to take responsible steps to block underage users, with a last-minute amendment mandating alternative age verification methods. The 8-month trial, led by the UK-based Age Check certification scheme, tested 53 vendors' age assurance tools, including facial recognition, voice, and hand movement analysis, which face accuracy challenges, especially for minors around 16 years old. Face scanning technologies estimated children's ages accurately within the 18-month margin, about 85% of the time, but frequently classified some 15-year-olds as adults in their 20s or 30s, with greater inaccuracies observed for young females and individuals with darker skin. One 16-year-old, Andy, received widely varied age assessments, ranging from late teens to late teens across different tools. Despite imperfect technology, officials expressed optimism that a system using multiple methods can help protect children online, but experts and the public remain concerned about privacy, accuracy, appeals, and potential circumvention.
Well, I will say this: a social media ban for underage users is hmm, definitely something in this day and age that should potentially happen. Here's why. Here's why. Is because the more that these teenagers stay on social media, the dumber that they're going to get, and the more brain dead that they're going to get as well. So, might as well try to nip the problem at its core. Besides, if they're not on social media, they could probably just do other things to entertain themselves. Now, once again, I understand that social media is a huge part of this society. And yeah, most people cannot necessarily stand in one place without looking on their phone every couple of minutes. I'm pretty sure me, you, and even Risk are probably guilty of that. I'm probably guilty of that. But the real question is, how successful will this actually be? Will there be any outrage? Will there be any, will there be any protests? Will there be anything? that people will do out of outrage if this actually becomes a thing. Yeah, but only time will tell. Only time will truly
Only
tell
time will tell.
if this is gonna be a success or just another disaster. Because there's a bunch of kids out there who are very addicted to social media. Social media is pretty much their life. For some little kids, I'm pretty sure it's their livelihood to a degree. I don't know. With some social media, with some influencers being literal children. Well, it could be controlled by the adults, so I can't say they'll lose everything, but still, it's just yeah, things are just gonna be far more different than how they used. But let's just wait and see.
We will find out.
Yes, we will. It just is what it is.
And it was what it was.
Exactly. Way of life. So yeah. Do you have anything?
Well, on one hand, the capabilities that this new technology has is impressive. And I'd like to see how those kind of efforts and equivalent similar capabilities can be adapted everywhere else, for the sake of everyone's safety. But on the other hand, although there is concern about children using social media at such a young age, why should we prevent people from accessing platforms if they are at a level and capability to handle such challenges on their own?
That is a very good point. That is a very good point right there. I honestly can't argue with it. It's like it's just ultimately it's just all about perspective and how you see it. But
Yes.
yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Russia on brink of recession as growth slows.
Hmm. Okay, let's hear more about Russia. Seems like I feel like it's been a while.
Yes. On June 19th, Russia's economy minister Maxim Reshetnikov indicated that the country is approaching a recession as economic activity continues to slow. This situation follows record high interest rates, falling oil prices, Western sanctions, of course, and logistical challenges weakening export revenues. Sberbank's deputy CEO Alexander Vidyakhin warned that the ruble is overvalued and the economy risks overcooling due to persistently high key rates. The central bank cut its key rate from 21% to 20% in June, but Vidyakhin projected growth between 1% and 2%, below the government's 2.5% forecast. Russia's budget deficit rose to 1.5% of GDP in the first 5 months, while economic slowdown suggests sustained fiscal challenges and restrained growth ahead.
Do you have any thoughts?
Well, if Russia's economy minister says there is a recession, well, who's to argue that Russia doesn't have a recession? I mean, government officials have one of government officials has confirmed that Russia's in something and they're going through it hard. However, despite what challenges Russia is going through, and it's rough, I'll say that, I think the Russian government, for some reason and somehow, they will find a way out of it, and they will continue economic activity as they've always done, even when sanctions already been put on them, and of course, whatever military conflicts they're currently in for. Hello?
Yeah, I really don't have any initial thoughts. Yeah. Anything else?
Nothing else for me to add.
No, I mean, is there anything else in the story? I mean, to report on.
But yeah, checking. Eyeing a Starlink alternative, France to boost Eutelsat state.
Let's hear more.
On June 19th, 2025, the French state initiated a 1.35 billion euro capital increase in Eutelsat, aiming to become its largest shareholder with nearly 30% ownership. This move responds to rising competition from Elon Musk's Starlink and the strategic need for a European satellite alternative amid concerns heightened by the 2022 Ukraine war. The capital raise will fund EUTELSAT's renewal of its satellite fleet, support its OneWeb LEO constellation, and finance a 10-year €1 billion military communications contract with France's armed forces. France Minister Eric Lombard stressed that enhancing satellite connectivity is crucial for strengthening France's industrial and digital independence, describing the recent funding boost as a key milestone in EUTELSAT's long-term development plan. The investment solidifies EUTELSAT's role in European strategic autonomy, with ongoing talks, including potential British government participation to counter dependence on non-European satellite providers.
Speaking of many things, I'm not gonna lie. I really should schedule an appointment. I really should. It's been a while. I don't even know if I've scheduled an appointment this year. But yeah. But anyways, yeah. I just hope for the best, and I just honestly just pray and hope that everything goes well and not turn around for the worst. But yeah, that's just me though.
Very true.
Yeah. Anything else? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. Did you say anything?
I didn't see anything else.
Okay. Yeah, but we can go into the next story.
SpaceX rocket explodes during test in Texas.
Well, not surprised there. Let's hear more.
Late Wednesday night at the Starbase facility near Boca Chica, Texas, a space Starship suffered a catastrophic failure and was destroyed while undergoing a routine static fire test. This explosion adds to a series of recent Starship failures, including flights lost in January, March, and May due to control and hardware issues. The 403-foot Starship is central to Musk's plan for Mars colonization and is the most powerful fully reusable rocket ever built. But testing setbacks continue. SpaceX reported no injuries, confirmed all personnel are safe, and cited a likely failure in a pressurized nitrogen tank called a COPV in the rocket's nose cone area. SpaceX is working with local authorities to secure the area and examine the data from the incident, emphasizing that insights gained will inform and improve upcoming test efforts despite the recent difficulties.
Well, I will say this about Mr. Musk. Not surprised if some of his rockets didn't work out. Not gonna say he's dumb for that because trial and error and whatnot. It ultimately is what it is. And yeah, we'll just try
And
to.
it was what it was.
Yeah, and yeah. It's like I will say this. Yeah, like Elon, trial and things like that are gonna. Things like that are gonna just hold on. Yeah, and yeah, it's like I will say this. Yeah, it's like the rocket exploding. Yeah, I'd say stuff like that is happening in the sky, but they're seeing it here or there. But yeah, I really got nothing to say about an exploding rocket. Yeah, it exploded. It exploded. It's probably not going to explode next time. You need to figure out. But it is what it
Yeah,
is.
and it was what it was.
But yeah, is there anything else?
Coinbase wins European MiCA license in Luxembourg.
Interesting. All right, let's hear more about that.
Yeah, let's just accept the terms and conditions, and okay, here we go. Coinbase joins other major exchanges like Bybit, OKX, and Crypto.com in being able to operate across the European Union. Crypto
All right.
exchange Bitcoin has won a European Union markets in crypto assets license from Luxembourg. The exchange, which is the fifth largest crypto exchange by volume, according to CoinGecko, will now be able to offer services across the 30 nations in the European Economic Area. I've already read that bit. What's going on? Though the EU MICA license grants companies across all of the nations in the European Union, plus Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, countries in the bloc still have been vying to attract major crypto companies. And now I just realized that Eric has left the chat. Not our Discord chat, but the recording. Something's really going on with Eric on his technological end. Well, although it is a start for crypto, and now people in Luxembourg, presumably, can now exchange and access different crypto and anywhere else in the European Economic Area, still have to be cautious. Not to say that there isn't anything to hide, but there comes a point we have to be concerned about the regulations. What other regulations could there be in place for European nations? Because for a concept that is not just new, but somehow has potential for financial prosperity for individuals, we have to ask ourselves, is it too good to be true? And if it is, then don't get too excited, because not everything will pan out the way you want it to. However, the next chapter in the crypto industry is still shaping up to be quite promising for them for the next few years. And of course, I know not a lot of people are a big fan of crypto and also are concerned that scammers, robbers, thieves, or other bad actors may use crypto to their advantage. At some point in the future, people will be using crypto, not just a way to make a little bit of extra cash or just to buy it low and then sell it high with this high volatility. But there will come a point that crypto will be used to actually buy stuff. It will come to that eventually. And there may be some places, especially one country, which despite many sanctions, are using crypto as a way to buy stuff or send money abroad. Because, well, SWIFT is a transaction system created by the United States. They pulled Russia out of its system, so before crypto was even allowed to be used widely in Russia, the Russians have no place to spend their money. Or at least there was no system in place where Russians could spend their money, nor the Russian people had the ability to send money abroad and convert it into other currencies. However, there will be more talks of crypto in the future, whether people like it or not. And that is the episode.